And we're here with Holden Kroenke, and he is here to raise awareness about a very important topic, which is PTSD.
By the end of today, 22 veterans will commit suicide. And to me, that is way too many.
Yes, it is.
There are lots of traumas that can happen to a person that can cause PTSD. It's almost like reliving that trauma all over again, flashbacks, and you said it's like being in a battle every day.
Kristen Maddox overcame a 12-year addiction. Now she pulls others out knowing that some have escaped death for the last time. Shauna Butler understands the pain of sexual abuse. Now she uses her voice to unhush the little girls inside of women she counsels. This is Keeping It Real.
Good morning and welcome to Keeping It Real. I'm Kristen Maddox.
And I'm Shauna Butler.
And we're here with Holden Kroenke, and he is here to raise awareness about a very important topic, which is PTSD. Welcome, Holden. We're so glad to have you on the show today.
Hi, thanks guys. I appreciate you guys having me here.
You know, PTSD is just a serious subject, and I guess we could just maybe start off by just explaining what is it like living with PTSD?
Well, PTSD, as you know or may not know, stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. It's usually caused on by a very traumatic event, either something happening to you or seeing something happen to you. And it's most commonly associated with soldiers or military members that have served overseas. I myself served 4 years in the Army at Fort Stewart, Georgia. Went to Afghanistan once. I have mild PTSD myself. And I just gotta tell you, for me, it was an everyday struggle. Every single day. Every day was like a battle. You re-experience things that you saw, did, or happened to you. You have terrible dreams, nightmares. I know people, good friends of mine, that have it a lot worse than I do, and they wake up in cold sweats. They have terrible nightmares. A good friend of mine, he's woken up many times choking or hurting his wife because he doesn't know what he's doing, you know? And it affects relationships, marriages, family. It affects everybody around them because you can see it in them.
Right. And I know, I remember speaking with you a while back about PTSD, and you know, somebody that doesn't have it can't even comprehend what somebody that has it go through. I remember you mentioning something about, you said, you know, think about driving down the road. You said even just a piece of a tire that somebody has had a blowout, and you said you could be driving, there's just a piece of a tire on the road. And I actually shared that in one of my workshops that I did about how it can affect you. And you said just that piece of tire can tense you up because when you were in the military, just something as that small on the highway could be a bomb.
Yes.
And so something that I'll roll over, you'll back up from or turn around. So how does that affect people?
It's very big. Again, like it's everyday life. Just little things like that. When you're riding on the interstate and you go under an overpass, most people don't even see it. You know, they just go under it like it's no problem. Well, we're trained in the Army, Marines, Air Force, Navy. We're trained to see those overpasses as possible attack points. There could be, you know, when you're in country, in Afghanistan or Iraq, wherever it may be, there could be people, because it's happened many times before in the past, where people are waiting on that overpass just for you and your convoy to come by and drop bombs, grenades, shoot at you from it. So it's really apprehensive for us sometimes, especially when you first come back. It really does affect you. Now, with time and everything, it can start to go away a little bit, but it's always going to be there.
And so somebody that has PTSD, and I know that you're talking a lot about the military, but there are lots of traumas that can happen to a person that can cause PTSD. It's almost like reliving that trauma all over again, flashbacks, and you said it's like being in a battle every day, but this time it's a battle in your mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's not just military. There are plenty of people who've lost children, significant others, wives, husbands, family members, especially people who have a sense of guilt about it, feel that they could have done more.
Right.
You know, they feel if they had done something else or something different or not done something, they might have been able to change.
Right, and I think we see it a lot more in the military because when y'all are there, y'all are living traumatic situations every day. And I know that there are people that are being abused that's living that every day too. However, it's so prevalent in the military, you know, with people coming out of the military. And just to try to understand that as family members that have never been through that before, and your loved ones are coming back, and like you said, just to drive under an overpass. You know, I was reading about PTSD the other day, and I saw it where they talked about how that feeling is like fight or flight. When when something is about to happen and that fight or flight kicks in, and so whatever you're going to do to save yourself, you're going to do that. And so someone that doesn't have PTSD, they get to that point, they do whatever it takes, they go through that fight or flight, and then they calm down from it. But they said someone with PTSD, that fight or flight mechanism in your brain, you're right at the threshold of it always. So for me, I'm calm until something happens. But for someone with PTSD, they are right there. So when they see the overpass or the tire on the road or whatever it is, it's automatic. And so they automatically respond the way they would respond if it had already happened to them. And then family members say, well, our children say, Dad, why aren't you coming to the park with me anymore? Why? And then the person is withdrawing. It's not because they want to. It's because, how do I go out and live a normal life? And then the family members don't really understand, why aren't they living a normal life now? You're not in the military anymore, but it's in the mind. And so that's so sad. It really is. So how do you deal with that?
Well, the best possible way to deal with that, there are lots of support groups out there, plenty of people. I don't care where you live, there's bound to be at least someone else that has served in the military and is going through the same problems you are. The best possible way is to get in contact with somebody. You know, even if it's somebody that's never been, find a family member you can trust and who's willing to listen. And that's a big part I want to discuss, you know, just listening to someone you know. If you have a brother, sister, husband, wife, cousin, whoever, friend that got out of the military and they're suffering with that, just listen to them. Try not to talk about it too much, because I guarantee you, no matter what you say, it's saying something is not going to help them at all. You know, because in the back of their mind, they know you have no idea. No idea. And no matter what you say, it's not going to change that fact.
But listening.
And just taking it all in and showing them that you do care, even though you don't understand, you do care, that can help a lot. And, you know, I just want to say something else too. You know, PTSD really does harm a lot of people. There are soldiers and military members out there that go through that every single day, and they just can't handle it. You know, every single day, 22 military members or former military members, veterans, commit suicide every single day. 22.
That's a lot.
And that's way too many.
Yes.
That's a lot.
We have had more veterans commit suicide than have actually died in combat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
By the end of today, 22 veterans will have committed suicide. And to me, that is way too many.
Yes, it is. It is. So what do we do? How do we fix it? You know, what do we do? And even, you know, even with you talking about the, to listen, when he was saying that, I was thinking about how some of the seminars that we teach, we talk about, even when we went through the assist seminar. Let's take a commercial break first, and we'll come back and get into that and talk about how important it really is to listen. When we return.
Today, girls will die as a result of drug overdose, abuse that went too far, and even suicide. A Door of Hope provides free services to girls and women. If you or someone you know needs help, call us today.
I'm Pastor Philip Pimlott, and this is my wife Kelly, and we want to extend a special invitation for you to come and visit us at Heartsease Family Life Church. Heartsease is a safe place for you and your family, a place where life starts, love happens, and purpose is revealed.
Our church is located at 12112 Florida Boulevard, and our services are Sunday mornings at 9 and 11 and Wednesday evenings at 6:45.
For more information, check out our website, hflc.us. Welcome home.
Before we went to commercial break, we were talking to Holden about PTSD, and we were actually talking about how important it is to listen. And I mentioned that Kristen and I, we had taken an assist class about how to assist people that want to commit suicide. And one of the things that they kept reiterating is that it's very important for you to hear their story. Ask them their story. Let them talk about it. And so I see that you keep saying that, listen. You just have to, one important thing is to listen to them. And so how important is that?
It's probably one of the more important parts of dealing with somebody with PTSD. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, most people with PTSD, they're not ready to open up to you or anybody, you know. The only people they're ready to open up to are their friends, which are the people they served with, you know.
So how do you approach, how can I
Best way to do that is to let them know you're here to help. You know, you completely understand. I don't know what you're going through.
Right.
I know I never served, but I want you to know that you can unload on me anytime you need to.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, when you open yourself up to them, they will begin to open themselves up to you. You know, and it won't be immediate either. It may take weeks, months, you know, before they actually start opening up to you. But that's just the way. That's just the way it is. You know, that's the way we are in the military. You know?
What are some signs and symptoms that a person would notice with someone that's dealing with PTSD?
One of the more notable ones, around loud bangs, like fireworks or like a car backfiring or something like that, they tend to get jumpy. One thing that I went through whenever I came back from Afghanistan is I wasn't able to go into large department stores or something like that. There's just too many crowds, too many people there. And I had no idea what was going on, and it made me incredibly nervous. You know, you see them sweating a lot in regular, everyday situations like that. Again, like you brought up driving down the road and they see something on the highway. All of a sudden, they swerve to avoid it, even though it's on the side and it's completely out of the way. Say, why are you doing that? They may have PTSD. Another thing is when they're sleeping, you may notice they talk or murmur a lot in their sleep. They jerk a lot. They wake up with cold sweats. They wake up, they have constant reoccurring nightmares. Little things like that. And it can sometimes be very, very hard to spot. Sometimes someone suffering from PTSD won't have any of those symptoms.
But it's still in their mind.
But it's still in their mind every single day.
Tell me the connection between, I know you mentioned when you came back, you know, certain big department stores, you know, it was hard for you to go into. You couldn't do that for a while because of all the people. What is the connection with the people and the, you know?
Well, normally, when I was in Afghanistan and we were around large crowds of people, they were usually civilians. And we would have to check each and every one of those civilians for something. Because when you're over there, the insurgents over there, they like to use civilians. They like to use regular, everyday people like you and me to cover up what they're doing, as a way to attack, because they know we're not going to shoot into a crowd of civilians. They know we're not going to fire back at them from a crowd of civilians. I have literally seen a man with an AK-47 walk into a group of children at a school and start firing at us, knowing, and then running away with the group of children, knowing that we weren't going to shoot back, just because they're children. They know we won't shoot back at them. Just things like that. And it starts bringing back memories of, oh, well, what if, you know, someone in this crowd comes up behind me or something like that? What's going to happen? What am I going to do? How am I going to respond to that situation? They start calculating it in their mind. What do I need to do? You know? So
whatever could happen is already happening in that person's mind, and you're already at that fight or flight mode in your mind, and so it blocks you from being able. You just want to be safe, so you avoid certain places.
And so, true to its name, post meaning after, traumatic meaning some form of trauma, stress. So there's a lot of stress and anxiety involved in this, and I know that there are many ways that people try to cope with it on their own.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about that for a few minutes.
Well, the first thing I can say is, if you or somebody you know suffers from PTSD, don't ever let them go it alone. Don't ever try to do it alone. If you're suffering from PTSD, get somebody that can help you, you know, because you're not going to be able to do it alone. I don't care who you are, how strong you think you are. You're not going to be able to do it alone. And that just leads to bad things. People who try to deal with it on their own, they get into drugs, they get into alcohol. They start drinking themselves to sleep every single day. And that can just lead to worse and worse things. You know, I had a very, very good friend of mine. I've 3 friends actually that have committed suicide due to PTSD because they got into drugs, they got into alcohol. A very good friend of mine, 2 weeks after he got out of the Army, overdosed on drugs, killed himself.
So sorry to hear that, Holden. So sorry to hear that.
It is, it happens.
What are some of the signs that we can look for with somebody that may be suicidal?
There are plenty of very good signs. Again, number one thing to do is listen to them. Some of the signs, you notice they're giving away a lot of their things, like things that would otherwise be precious to them. Oh, this painting on the wall I got from my father, would you like it? They're writing out wills, testaments, things like that. You notice they're becoming more depressed, they're not talking as much, they're locking themselves away in their rooms. Things like this is a really big sign.
Right. Well, we're going to go to commercial break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about PTSD.
Hi, I'm Kristen Maddox.
And I'm Shauna Butler.
And I'm Louise Cook.
And Louise is the financial director at A Door of Hope Ministries. Every day at A Door of Hope, we have the opportunity to provide free services to girls and women that are struggling with various crises, various traumas in their life. And we cannot do this without the support of people in our community like you. You have the opportunity today to help us continue to provide these services at no charge to the girls. We cannot do it without you.
And like Kristen said, the services are free, but of course it does cost the Door of Hope in order for us to stay open. And so we do need your pledges. Every pledge is going to help some young lady to be able to heal, to be able to get over those life-controlling issues that they've been through. And that's our mission here at A Door of Hope Ministries.
And this is what we offer to you. You could pay through the Angel of Hope Fund. You could also do PayPal, credit card, or simply mail in your check. And also go on our website. That's another place you can give. And we thank you for your help.
I just want to ask you a question. How much is her life worth? Priceless, right? What if she was your mother, your sister, or even your daughter? You have the opportunity to help us make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Pastor Philip Pimlott, and this is my wife Kelly, and we want to extend a special invitation for you to come and visit us at Heartsease Family Life Church. Heartsease is a safe place for you and your family, a place where life starts, love happens, and purpose is revealed.
Our church is located at 12112 Florida Boulevard, and our services are Sunday mornings at 9 and 11 and Wednesday evenings at 6:45.
For more information, check out our website, hflc.us. Welcome home.
Today, girls will die as a result of drug overdose, abuse that went too far, and even suicide. A Door of Hope provides free services to girls and women. If you or someone you know needs help, call us today. Welcome back to Keeping It Real. We are here with Holden, and we are talking about a very important subject today, the topic of PTSD, which stands for Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder. And when we left off before the break, we were talking about some of the signs that somebody may show that may be contemplating suicide. And so now, Holden, I'd like for you to just talk to the viewers about if we see someone with these signs, how can we best help them?
Well, one thing that I was taught in the Army, because in the Army, they, of course, recognize how bad suicide is becoming with military members. And one thing they give us, at least every 2 or 3 months, is something called an ACE card, A-C-E. And that stands for Ask, Care, Escort.
Okay.
You ask them, if you see the signs, you ask them if everything's okay. Don't bring up suicide necessarily. Ask them if everything's okay, if there's anything you can do to help. You then care for that person. Do things for them, help them get through their daily life. If you still feel like they're actually contemplating suicide, you escort them to help. And that can be anything. I want to stress, do not take any shortcuts when it comes to actually escorting someone to help, because that can save a person's life. If it means calling the police, ambulance, if you have to, if they're putting up a fight, if you have to, knock them out and pull them out of the house and bring them to the hospital yourself, do it. Because if you don't, you may never see that person again. And if that happens, then it just becomes a whole battle for you. What could I have done to keep them from committing suicide? And now you have 2 people incredibly affected by it.
And I know that you said that you were offered that training through the military, and Shauna and I also went through a training that may be more available to you, our viewers, if you're interested in it. It's called Assist. And if you want some information about that, you can certainly call A Door of Hope. The number's on the screen, and you can get more information about that. I know it was life-changing for us. We felt empowered. They brought us through such extensive training that not only did we hear, not only did we visually see, but we also got to really activate, I guess, everything that we learned by doing a lot of role playing, and it really helped us. That when we left there, we felt
empowered, really, and it really, with them putting us through the role playing, I think that really helped, because I remember at one point they had us to close our eyes, and they just kind of talked to us, and they said, okay, imagine if somebody's on a bridge and about to jump off, and then they had us to open our eyes, and when we opened our eyes, there was a lady standing on top of a chair, and she was the one on the bridge, and it's like, what are you going to do? So I want to cry. It put us in that situation, and we had to respond. And so it teaches you how to respond. So we each had a chance to respond to her, and so we had a chance to sit and look at how each person responded and how she responded to them. So sometimes she was willing, and sometimes she wasn't. She still was going to jump. And so what do you do? And so this class is very important. And like Kristen said, you know, the number is on the line, or you can call A Door of Hope. I think you have to have at least, is it 10 people to take the class at one time? So if you don't know how to deal with suicide, or you want to know, definitely call that number and try to get a training going, because I think everybody should know how to deal with that, because it's so many people committing suicide or trying to nowadays, and just to be equipped and know how to respond to that.
Another good resource I can say, I tell everybody this, when it comes to things like that, Google is your best friend. If you can't get into a class like that, or if you find that a class like that, the next scheduled meeting of that class is say next month or something, and you need the information now, get on the internet, Google it, find out what you can do immediately. There are lots of great websites, helpful tips, pointers out there. I mean, some government-funded websites, some privately funded websites.
And that's what I was going to ask you, as far as people in the military, what are some places they can go to online, or, you know, that in order to get help with this?
I found a couple of places right here in the Baton Rouge area. One is the Capital Area Center for PTSD Treatment. They have a lot of people specializing in PTSD. They have meetings there, regular meetings, kind of like support groups for people in the military, even people who weren't in the military. Another one is a Capital Area Recovery Program. They specialize in a lot of the same things, but they not only do PTSD, they also help with people who survived suicide attempts, people who may be depressed, contemplating suicide. They help out in a lot.
Is this just with military or with anyone?
No, man, this is just for anybody. For anybody.
That's good to know.
Now, the Capital Area Center for PTSD Treatment does specialize in military personnel, but the Capital Area Recovery Program actually specializes in just anybody and everyone.
Really? That's good.
including spouses, and that's so important, because where's the support for the spouse that is trying to help her husband, or the husband that is trying to help his wife?
Exactly.
That's another thing I wanted to touch on too, because the spouses are going through a battle just like their husbands or their wives, you know. And a lot of times, sometimes, you know, they serve in the military too, but a lot of times they never served in the military. And they have trouble dealing with it. And if something, God forbid, someone does commit suicide, it affects their family even more than it affects that person. That person, you know, he's leaving everything behind. And a lot of times it's guys with kids, you know. And now those kids don't have a father or a mother. And it really...
It leaves the family feeling like maybe I should have done something differently, or it makes it really bad for everybody. You know, once a suicide is actually committed, it's really bad. Are you okay, Holden?
Yeah, I'm all right.
I know that this is hard for you, and I'm going to say this too. If you or someone you know is dealing with depression, or even have someone in their family that's dealing with PTSD and you're struggling and you're being depressed or stressed about it, A Door of Hope Ministries, we do free counseling here. Call A Door of Hope and schedule an appointment with us to come and sit down and talk to us. And if it's something that we can't help you with, we have the resources to refer you to someone else.
And again, you may have suffered some sort of trauma, maybe a loss in your family, and as Holden mentioned, maybe even lost a child. You may have been raped. You may have been sexually abused. You may be struggling with a past abortion. There are a car accident. There are so many different things that can cause a trauma in a person's life. And we want you to know that there is hope and there's help. And A Door of Hope is one of those places that you can call. We're here to listen. That's the most important thing, is just being an ear for somebody that's ready to talk about it.
I just want to stress there is no shortage of people willing to help, places willing to help, programs out there, support groups. There's no shortage of them.
Right.
And that's one of the things people dealing with PTSD tend to feel. They feel like there's no one else out there that can help me. I'm all alone. There's nothing I can do. And they just start giving up.
We'd just like to thank you so much, Holden, for coming on Keeping It Real. Everything you shared with us was so informative, and I know it's going to help a lot of our viewers with PTSD and know how to handle that. And we would like to end the show today and just take a moment of silence for the military veterans and their families, the ones who are dealing with PTSD, and also the ones who have lost their lives due to PTSD. So we're just going to take a moment of silence in our show for them.
Do you have a story? Send your personal story to info@adoreofhopela.com for a chance to be selected as a guest on the morning talk show, Keeping It Real.
Thank you to our sponsors. If you'd like to help sponsor the show Keeping It Real, please call 225-665-4673. That's 225-665-4673. Thank you to our sponsors. If you'd like to help sponsor the show Keeping It Real, please call 225-665-4673. That's 225-665-4673.